Hi, welcome back to EducateTube.com. My name is Sipsky, your host. Today I'll be talking about the Sony a7 III that's been released by Sony in February, and will be available in April. Now, I just bought my a7R III and I'm very happy with it. A lot of people may ask me, do you feel regretful that you bought it? That a7 III came out and it's like $1,000 cheaper. Pretty much it has everything that a7R III has, and you're saving $1,000. My answer is, of course, no. The reason for that is if you check my other videos that I made about a7R III, the one thing that I was able to get was that I got this open box a7R III and $400 off. So again, if you talk about price wise, I'm actually saved $400 from this open box, and it's still 1 year warranty on this camera. The difference between a7R III and a7 III is, of course, the high megapixel. Other than that, there are very few differences. So little that it's not worth $1,000 other than the 42 megapixel. Right? In fact, if you look at the a7 III, it has a more focusing point, which means that it's very similar to a9 in that sense. Of course, it doesn't have the a9 processor that can do 20 frames per second, right? It does a 10 frame per second just like the a7R III. But a7R III is incredible because think about it, 10 frame per second, 42 megapixel, right? That is amazing. Like especially when you like high megapixel camera, this is like almost a medium format camera here, right? So that's why I don't feel regretful at all, because I already saved $400 and I have a 42 megapixel, and it is a professional camera. Remember, the a7 III is an entry full frame camera, whereas this is actually Sony's most high-ended camera. The a9 is the other one, but this one is pretty much, like I mentioned before, is an a7R II and a6500 combined together, and I'm very, very proud to own this camera, especially being able to save $400 off on it. But definitely, if it's your first time moving from APS-C camera to a full frame, get the a7 III because it's $2,000 US, whereas this one is $3,200 US. $1,000 not worth it if you're not into high megapixel cameras. Not worth your time and effort. Get the a7 III. This is from my, even though I already spent the money for the a7R III, if I were to purchase again, would I buy a7R III? The answer is yes, because I'm into high megapixel cameras. But most people don't, right? They don't use that high of a megapixel. They don't need it, and so therefore, 24 megapixel is more than adequate. Now, the reason I have a 42 megapixel camera is because I do have a very wide format printer. I actually bought a secondhand Canon W8400 wide format printer. It's huge. I can print up to 44-inch. It's like a huge paper that I can just print out, and with a 42 megapixel, it looks amazing. Okay, so that's the only reason. It's very specialized. If you're not into high megapixel, I would say skip the a7R III, go for the a7 III. Now, for me, I'm looking forward to the a7S III. What I do regret, however, is that I recently bought an a7S II. This is the second time I bought it. I sold it and I got it now. But just hearing about the a7 III, I realized the a7S III may be coming out pretty soon, and the spec most likely will be amazing. Okay, I'm thinking maybe it's 10-bit 422, maybe 4K 60 frames per second. I'm thinking it's probably 60 frames per second. It is possible it's 120 frames per second burst mode, if that's even possible, and 180 or 240 frame per second 1080p full frame. Whether it's burst mode or continuous, I really don't know, but that would be amazing. It can do 240 frames per second continuous, and of course a better low light if you look at the a7 III, the low light is incredible. It's very close to the a7S II, only one stop lower. Okay, now I haven't tested yet, but looking at the spec, it seemed to me that it's only one stop lower than a7S II, but that's at the higher end, and most people don't use ISO of 100,000, right? So it's, even if you had that ability, you don't want to be able to, you don't want to stretch that much anyway. I think about 51,200 ISO is pretty much, you want to stop there. The Sony a7S II could do that, and now I know that the a7 III can do that. You can check Max Uroff, he did a video on that, and check also Jason Lanier regarding, you know, their test on a7 III, and they attest that the low light is incredible for the a7 III. Now the a7R III is also good as well, but it's about, I think according to Max, it's about 1/3 stop less than the a7 III. Okay, so I hope this is useful for you when you purchase your new Sony full frame camera. I would say, yeah, $2,000 for a7 III is worth the price. If you don't have the money for the a7R III, go for the a7 III. You'll be happy with it. I'm just waiting to see the a7S III when it's released. Will I buy it? Like this camera here, I wait 4 months for it to come out. I wait, everybody. I want to make sure the YouTube reviewers check it out, test it out, and of course make sure that now the one thing that the a7 III I've not seen yet is the overheating issue. I'm worried that there might be one, but according to the a7R III, it didn't have one, so I'm hoping that a7 III don't have that issue either. But it'd be nice if somebody did that test to confirm it. If it's confirmed, then definitely go for the a7 III. But for me, the next camera other than the a7R III is my, if I have the budget, buy the a7S III. But I want to know the spec. I want somebody to test it out. I'll wait another 4 months for it. Most likely the end of this year. You know, once they release in, let's say in April they announce it, and let's say it was out for purchase in October, I'll wait till December if I have to get the a7S III. If I can do the same for the a7R III, where it's just open box, you know, where, you know, somebody went happy with it and I can buy it for $400 off again, that'd be awesome. All right, thanks for watching EducateTube.com.